Hey guys, welcome back to the Misty Meta Mastermind. This is Side Income Dad.
How you guys doing? This is Channel in here.
Hello, everyone. This is Migs.
Welcome back to another episode, guys. As usual, we're going to go through and talk about the next fund that is going to pay. And so the next fund that's going to pay next week is Misty. Good old Misty. That's our favorite.
Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah. The GOAT.
Let's
Now,
go.
for those of you that are new, we basically have invested in funds so that we get paid every single week of the year. And this is kind of how it breaks down. So as Misty pays this coming week, then it resets and TSLY will pay. And then after that, PLTY or NVDY will pay. It's not that either one will pay. They both pay. It's just which one are you invested in? And then CONY and then Misty again. And they just loop like that the entire year. So in here, we're going to give you our estimate for how much money they're going to pay. And then we kind of give you the journey that we have kind of taken on, in our investment portfolio. So as always, this is not financial advice. This is really for entertainment purposes and just to share our journey. Guys, so we are headed into the week with Misty. Like, what are you guys' thoughts? Are you guys excited? What's going on?
I mean,
Uh,
I'm
Far as
keep going.
excited, yes and a no, I guess, right? I'm excited for this week, MSTR. Hopefully they get that, that special golden treat to get into the S&P 500. But as far as Misty goes, it's just been on sideways trading for a while. So I know that's kind of our biggest bag. So we're all just kind of waiting for that thing to take off.
Yeah, I agree. But like, it feels like every single fund Yieldmax right now has been kind of trading sideways or doing less than average right now.
That's true. That's true. And I mean, honestly, that's quite a segue into this guesstimate for the week. As you guys can see, it's a pretty big loss. I mean, the income per share, we're losing 76 cents per share. It's just because the synthetic, we had to sell some synthetic positions over the last month and it wasn't good. It was a loss and it kind of sucked.
Sure did.
Yeah, implied volatility of MSTR is also pretty low. And so
I'm hoping it bottoms out though. I hope last week was kind of it's starting to come up, right? And it kind
yeah,
of stabilized out. It wasn't getting any lower. It actually came up a little bit on Friday, I believe.
absolutely. Yeah, it looks
So
like we're finally gonna have a little uptrend there.
yeah, man, we've
Maybe
been
it's
down this whole month. So hopefully this is it. This is kind of the bottom, and then we pivot and turn around and to the moon we go.
yeah. Hopefully, it's people anticipating the end of quarter S&P 500 induction or eligibility.
Yeah, that's so like such a big deal. I hope we get in there. We'll talk about that here shortly, about what that means and what the next steps really are. So I guess to really stop delaying our guesstimates so much, I want to explain like the four estimates that are here. So we have a high estimate, which means as a percentage of price, what is the highest payment that they've ever given, and that's what they would estimate here. The average price is if we take every payout they've ever given and estimate it out from a percentage of the price. That's what this would estimate. And then the low one, same thing. It's just the lowest percentage of the price that they've ever paid. Now, unfortunately, guys, I think the IV estimate is what it's going to be. So normally, whatever this IV, if you take that, you annualize it. That is another way to kind of guess at what they're going to get. And
If you
I'm
analyze that sucker.
yes, sir. That's a little tribute to retire on dividends. What's up, Ron?
Uh,
So yeah, I'm thinking this is it. I'm thinking the IB estimate's what we're gonna get, which is really
Uh,
unfortunate, guys. I
I,
mean,
I
that
hope
is oof.
I'm hoping like 80. I want to see an 8 there.
Yeah, I don't know. Chan, what are your thoughts?
I'm feeling it's gonna be higher than that.
Yeah.
Just I think 90 cents. I'm gonna call it 90 cents.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that I don't want to
That,
analyze that
that
sucker.
based on that we own it and we want more.
Based on the
Based
fact
on
that they know I'm carrying a lot of bags,
right?
they want to keep all of us in, so they're gonna, I don't know, they're gonna chop it up or something and give us a little bit more bread just to make us feel a little better.
Yeah, and just classify it as a return on capital.
This is gonna be a rough one, guys. So it sounds like I'm at 76, Migs is at 80, and then Chanimal's at 90. We'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
We'll see what we get. Either way, we're all predicting this to be the lowest payment that Misty
Uh-uh.
has ever given. Now, having said that, I think the grass will be greener. That's coming up ahead, and maybe we can really dive into that, why we think the grass is going to be greener. So I kind of prepared this other tab here where we talk about here, maybe that might make it a little bit bigger for everyone. I mean, I hope it does. But
It does.
so the MSTR, like the first step to getting into the S&P 500 is you have to be eligible for the S&P 500. And this is basically the eligibility standards that need to be met. And as everybody can see, I mean, I guess I can go one by one, but technically the only thing that they're missing is number 7 here, which is they need to show positive earnings, not only for the recent quarter, but then the previous 4 quarters. Everything else they've hit, right? Like not just hit, but they exceeded. And so they're doing really good. They've done great. It's really just that last one. And if this happens, they become eligible for the S&P 500, and that takes us into this last step. This last
Yep.
step means that the committee has to then say, okay, because they're eligible and we think that they're worthy, we're going to add them into the S&P 500. So I just wanted to point that out, that just because they're eligible doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get in, even though, we all think that they will. And the fact that Coinbase just got added, what was that, like a month ago or so, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that thing
so
took off
it
crazy.
did take off, and honestly, like that's why we think it will, because it shows that the market is responding well to crypto in general. And so we do think that if MSTR can get that this quarter, which by the way is tomorrow, at the end of the trading day tomorrow, if Bitcoin is above like $95,000 per Bitcoin, then that pretty much is going to mean that they're going to be eligible for S&P 500.
Do you guys know when that vote is?
No.
I think September. Gronk says Friday. No, 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 no. September. Trying to see, find out when they will actually vote. I heard it was September though. I may be wrong.
Okay. Well, let's dive into why we think that they're going to be profitable. Chan, could you take a moment and check what the price of Bitcoin is right now? While we wait for that, as we can see here, MSTR holds 592,000 BTC, and their average purchase price was 70,000 per coin. So that means their BTC like value right now is about 41.8 million or zero point 0.8 billion.
Mhm.
And if it closes at 107, which is what it was when this got typed up, but I don't know what it is right now, but it
108.5.
108, so already better, right? And if it closes at, based on this math at 107, they're going to have 63.38 billion on their balance sheet. That's an unrealized gain of $21 billion, which is absolutely insane. And so this right here will make it so that not only will they have a profitable quarter, but it will also make all the previous quarters, all like the previous 4 quarters profitable. And that's going to give us, that yes on that last requirement. So it's a really big deal. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but yeah, this is pretty huge.
And looks like here September 5th is the date.
All
Is when
right.
we'll announce it. So eligible by the end of what t tomorrow, not tomorrow, Monday, right? Monday.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
If they're eligible, then September 5th is when they'll get that announcement if they're added or not, I guess.
Mark it in your calendar.
On your calendar.
That's right. Save the date.
Stocks will, keep climbing, after Monday and
Well,
then
I mean, if
September
that
5th,
happens,
it
it probably
closed.
be better.
What's that?
I think that would be probably the ideal situation. Like people start anticipating that it's gonna go in,
Hmm.
and so people buy in, the stock goes up, and then once it actually goes into the S&P 500, And the hedge funds have to like buy in at that higher price, making
Uh,
the price even go higher, right?
That's right. That'd be great. And just to like, I guess open up more on that. What happens is if they get included into the S&P 500, and Migs, I think you know this part best, but all the other funds are kind of forced to purchase MSCR stock to add into their portfolios. Do you remember
Correct.
what that distribution or like what that percentage needed to be?
I can't remember if it was like based on capitalization, but it was like anywhere from like 3% to like 5%, I think.
Okay, and that's like basically all the funds that hold
All
an equivalent of the S&P 500, right?
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And so that alone is going to boost how much the MSTR price is, which then brings us back to Misty. And so if we're seeing that happen, especially if it's like a gradual increase in value over the next few months, Misty's going to keep up with that value. So we may see Misty end up in the 25, $30 a share by the end of the year. And that would be insane because now all of a sudden, if it's $30 per share and we shared earlier that the distribution usually is a percentage of that, that puts us in a position where now Misty's paying, $2 fairly regularly, 2.50 fairly regularly. And so the dividends at that point are pretty life-changing, at least for us.
yeah, for sure. Sorry, I was just kind of looking at what Coinbase did, right? When they got announced that they'll be eligible. And it looks like they were in May, right?
Mhm.
Just kind of look at the see if there's some correlation we could pick up on their stocks and what they did. Maybe if it kept climbing or something, and then when they did get out, it exploded. But it looks like they were fairly stable until that, it was announced that they were gonna get added. So,
Okay, so there was a lot of stability until it was official that they were in.
yeah, I was trying to see if there's a trend. Maybe it started climbing, people start buying the news or something. But based on that, no, it's kind of been stable up and down, nothing, no major moves. So,
So,
yeah, I mean, maybe Misty's different. I mean,
yeah.
MSTR is different. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it does.
Yeah, and having said that, I mean, we did see CONY perform extremely well this last period. As everything else did poorly for this month, CONY did extremely well. I mean, I think I got pretty good payouts from them.
Yeah, this is my first CONY payment. Um, so
Gotcha.
I was
Gotcha.
shocked at all the payments. I haven't even been paying attention, but which is kind of nice, right, guys? So it's just like it's one of those things, right? If you get paid every weekly, it's just it's I mean it's nice to get it every week, but it's one of those things where if you don't track it, it's still every week it comes into your account and you're just like, sweet, right? Let it build, let it accumulate. So especially if you don't need the funds yet. So I think that it's just another win.
Yep. You just set it and forget it.
Set it, forget it, and a couple months
And
later, like, oh, what? Who paid me? How did this get so high? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a little background on that is we all started with Misty. Misty's our biggest bag. We all invested quite a bit here. And then we
Look.
were like waiting for that one specific week of the month for us to get paid by Misty. And it always felt like it took forever. And
Yeah.
so, and by the way, I want to just say it out loud. I was the most reluctant to buy everything else. But,
What? What?
but, but the guys convinced me and I ended up buying into the other funds. And you know what? I'm really happy that they convinced me because getting paid
Yeah.
every week is actually really nice.
It
Yeah,
definitely is.
for sure. I think a lot of you guys got to realize is, at the end of the day, these are still just stocks, right? Like one stock may have a good month, then the next month it takes a dip, the other keeps running, right? They're all constantly changing. So I feel like the more funds you're in, right? I mean, let's just say two out of the four is dipped, the other two are doing good. I mean, that's kind of balancing out your income. So I feel like it's just, pretty nice way to diversify a little bit and not have all your eggs in one basket. Just because it's just say, for instance, MSTR hasn't been doing anything, but Tesla's been running, right, with that robotaxi news or something, and it just keeps running. So that would definitely help out Tesla. So it's just, and then the next month comes and Tesla may not be so hot, right? And then MSTR come back or something. So it's always nice to get into all four funds, in my opinion, to kind of balance out that income
Yeah, in case one's not doing too well, like you said.
a little
The
bit
other
more.
one, yeah.
Also wanted to point out that we have two funds here on Group B, and that's because the Platy price is like, above $60. And so that may be a little bit too expensive for some people to buy. And therefore the alternative is NVDY. Obviously they also represent an amazing company within NVIDIA. And their price right now for NVIDIA, I think, is like $16, something like that.
Mhm.
And so it's, this is built in such a way where I think the everyday person can kind of slowly trickle in and start reaping some of those benefits. And that's what we did, right? I mean, that's kind of how we went about it.
Yeah, on that note, what do you guys think about that real quick? I mean, it's like having a backup for that week.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
absolutely going to dive
Right?
into it. Like, there's no doubt.
Yeah, because I'm currently in Platy and NVIDIA, then that's the only group for Group B. But I haven't looked into A if there's anything worth jumping into. Obviously, right? We got to see if anything's um even worse having two funds in one group, right? So yeah, what you guys thought? I mean, having like a backup payment if one of your groups are not doing that well that week, maybe you have a backup and I mean. It sounds kind of cool. I mean, what did you guys thought?
I mean, if you have the capital, sure, why not? Go for it.
That's my
Or if you
thought.
or if you also have the time to like jump in and out of funds. Like
Okay.
be like, oh, this week I want to go with, let's say, Tesla, right? And then next month or next payout for Tesla, you're like, you know what? I want to go into take all of it out and then jump into another one like snowy or whatever it is,
Right,
in and
right.
out of jumps, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's another one. If you have the time to manage it, right? To like manage the buying and the selling and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the buying the dip and trying to time it and everything.
Yeah, which is d definitely involved without a doubt. But that is still an option. I think for me the answer is Ulti. So Ulti pays every single week. Doesn't matter which group it is, they pay every week. And they would be a great alternative, in my opinion,
All right.
because they're going to pay every single week. And so that way, maybe Platy, TSLY, CONY, Misty didn't do that well. Well,
Oh,
that's okay because you're getting a second payment every single week. And so it's always supplementing that income.
and Ulti is all of
Mm.
the fund, all Yieldmax has, right?
It's not all of them. It's a lot of like so they have like Palantir, NVIDIA, Tesla, Coinbase, MSTR, but
All the
then
fund.
they have a bunch of other ones that they don't actually have single funds for.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's a pretty big mix. It's definitely well diversified, and it's also, I would say, the most stable. If we talked about returns, obviously like Misty's the best in general, right? I think Misty's like 120%, something like that. Pallady, I think, is at like 110. Tesla is in the 90s, 96, 95. CONY's generally been in like 88. And then NVIDY was like 78, something like that. And I remember Ulti's at 77. So
Wow.
Ulti is the lowest one out of everything. But if you look at its price, it's the most consistent. So its price stays pretty much right where it is. Its dividends are pretty much always the same. So it's one of those funds where it's lower risk, but obviously with lower risk always comes like less payout.
But consistent, so it kind of balances out.
Yeah, definitely. It always recovers well, which I think is what I really like. Especially the way Migs was talking about, where at times, if you want to jump in and out of funds, like you really have to time it. You have to make sure you sell at the right time, you buy at the right time, because some of these funds don't recover quickly. And yeah, with Ulti, it kind of doesn't matter when you buy because it's always such a dependable stock.
True.
Yeah. anyone's interested and wants to see us dive into that, let us know in the chat for sure. That sounds pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was gonna buy some of this anyways.
What
Nice.
is their price at right now?
Like
Six
six
something?
dollars and like maybe
Six.
20,
Oh
25 cents, 22 cents.
Yeah.
It's super cheap right now.
yeah.
Yeah. Last I saw was 6:30.
Just throw it in the basket, check out. Just throw
Yeah,
it.
that's it. That's it. I mean, on
I mean,
that note, maybe we can jump into some income proof here.
Yeah.
I
So this is mine. CONY paid out about $1,300. Platy close to 1,000.
New car. The Lambo.
damn.
This is Chanimal.
Two.
600 and looks like another 600 from a different account.
Yeah, roughly about that.
Nice.
Cool, cool.
Oh, look at mine.
Look at this guy, this guy. So like
Almost 1200.
1,200 and then 700. Nice.
Yep. That's almost 2K.
Yeah. And
Damn.
again, the reason why we've combined Coney and Platy is because there was a holiday last week, and so Platy didn't end up paying until Monday.
On that note, I think Misty's gonna do the same thing because of
That's
the 4th of
right.
July. So they won't
Yeah.
pay until the 7th, July 7th.
Dang. Okay. Well, now we know.
Yep.
Now we know one's disappointed if it doesn't show up in in their bank, like me last time.
Yeah, don't be calling Yieldmax.
Yeah, right.
Where's my money?
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, there's our income proof, guys. That's so we're putting our money where our mouth is.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got a quick question. What advice would you guys give like somebody starting new to this type of funds?
Do your research. Absolutely, right? I mean, every investment
Yeah.
comes with risk, and I think if someone doesn't know how these funds make money, if they don't really understand it completely, like do some research, especially nowadays. There's so much AI everywhere. You can kind of talk to it, ask it questions. They'll break things down for you. Doing your
Yeah.
research first, it gives you conviction. Like for example, and I think honestly, I think today's episode is a perfect example of this. Because if I were to tell somebody, yo, Misty's the GOAT, Misty's amazing, like put your money in Misty, and then they get a 76-cent payout, they're gonna be like, wow, side
You
income dad
lied to
is
me.
scamming everyone, right? But
Fake
we,
news.
right, the three of us completely understand why that's reasonable, right? We
Yeah.
all know how the fund works. We all know what happened. We all also know its potential and what's coming in the future. And we've been there for the payouts in the past. So we know like what it can and can't do and all that. And I think that's really valuable because what's going to happen if you don't? Paper hands, right? They're going to sell
Yeah.
immediately. They're going to be like, yeah, no, this
FOMO.
is this is horrible. It's not for me. I'm going to lose all my money, blah, blah, blah. Like it's just being well informed that makes you make these decisions with
Yeah.
a
I feel like
clear conscious.
besides, like, on top of that, you should, after doing your research, also, like, don't just jump all in. Like, test the water first, maybe throw some money that you don't really necessarily need right now. So, like, you don't feel it if it goes up or down too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these funds, I mean, they don't, it's not like huge gains, right? You're not like, 20, 10, 15, 20% moves like crypto or something. They're fairly minimal, right? And they're fairly low. I mean, start with $100, $200, $500, whatever they may be, right? Just get started with, just buy. I think everyone that's listening kind of have an idea and hopefully some experience or some type of investment. But those that have never put any kind of money, I think this is definitely a bit intimidating to see, but you don't have to go that deep, right? You don't have to be where we're at, right? This takes time and you just do whatever you're comfortable with. Like I said, right? Just throw $100. Just start off $100, buy whatever you can with 100 and wait for that month and check your account, right? I think that first payment, once that hits, that will kind of validate everything and that would definitely A, let you know if, hey, I kind of like that, or B, it's not for you, all right? Or C, you're kind of curious and want to stick around for some, but definitely get started throwing what you can. But I wouldn't wait on the sideline too long, guys, because yeah, it's just the longer it's time in the game, right? Time in investing, right? Is where you're gonna win. So
Yeah, there's a saying, right? People want to time the market when the reality is time in the market.
right.
Like that's how you win, is you just got to get in.
Oh, MSTR daily.
Another shout out there, guys. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think all of that is absolutely true. And if you're out there and you're thinking about doing this, trying this out for yourself, I would recommend probably Robinhood. Robinhood is such an easy app that you can get on your phone. You can start investing right away. It's definitely the way to go. Nothing out there is gonna provide a better future for your family than learning how to invest properly.
Oh,
What even if it's not this, like obviously this is what we've chosen. We like income, and so we've chosen stocks that are income based. That doesn't mean that we don't all own growth stock. We all have a growth stock as well. This is just what we're doing for income, and so just start with something. I think that's the best advice.
yeah, and like don't get scared. Like if you're getting like low yield percentage, like because if you think about it, like let's say you're getting 4% a month, multiply that for the year, you're getting like over 40%. Where else can you get that on your money?
Right.
Exactly. Yep. And actually, on that note, every one of these funds, since they pay weekly, and it's a 4 week cycle, you're actually getting 13 payments from each one of them for the year. So it's
Yep.
almost as if you were getting paid for 13 months, right? Like, but I think that's something cool to point out, especially when you say 4%, which is again like a great example because that's probably what the lowest funds pay, right? 4% out of like what we're looking at here.
Yep.
And so you times that 4% by 13, and all of a sudden you're making decent money. That's over 50%.
Yep.
It's not
On the
easy to
first
get.
year. On the
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah. It's really not easy to get.
Or you just stick your money and get a measly 3%, 3.5%,
Right?
A year.
E or something. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked what the rates are, but I'm sure it's well under 5%.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good
Have a
one.
good one, guys. Enjoy
Bye.
your week.
Peace.